River Valley. They have completed efforts around the West Branch Tunnel area. We're just waiting for fire to progress in there before we turn the sprinklers on and have our firefighters move out to the north. Not a lot of fire growth in this area, but like Darren said, it was in heavier fuels. It's in some higher country, and it's continually backing down into some drainages out there. Moving up into Division Foxtrot. Division Foxtrot got some additional resources in there with heavy equipment and some fire crews to work on their containment lines out to the north. We expect good progress in this area over the next couple of days to complete those control features, working over around the Crystal Lakes and Red Feather Lakes area into Division Lima. Lima has been very active for the last couple of days with heavy logging equipment, and they're making very good progress in there. Anticipated probably another 3 to 4 days to complete the operation of pulling the timber out with the equipment, and then they will have hand crews following behind the equipment to do what we call prepping the line. So prepping the line involves removing some of the understory vegetation so that it's not as volatile and it doesn't have a pathway to get up into the canopy of the trees, which that's problematic for us because that causes spot fires that could cross our containment lines. So that operation is going well. Same story down in Division Romeo over here. They're finishing up some of their prep. They're a little bit ahead of the game over here. They're on offense right now, and they've actually moved down into the 14 corridor, moving out towards Division Uniform Break. Good operation in there, probably another couple of days of preparation in there and plumbing the sprinkler kits that are around the improvements in the structures. Moving over into Division Uniform, they were focusing efforts down here around the CSU campus. They're using the Ameline Trail to come into the wilderness area, improving that feature up into the higher terrain. So we have some natural breaks up in here towards the park that we're relying on to either be a limiting factor or a slowing factor as the fire progresses south down towards Rocky Mountain National Park. Okay, we're going to focus here now on the Highway 14 corridor, and then we'll move over to the most active part of the fire. Efforts are going very well here in the Highway 14 corridor. They've probably got another couple of days of preparations in here, working all the way down to the Pingree Park Road. We'll move over into Division Whiskey. They've had some activity in here the last couple of days, some fire that has crossed Highway 14 and worked its way down Long Draw. So that was something that we thought maybe we could get around today with some bucket drops from the helicopters. Those efforts were deemed unsuccessful. The fuels are too heavy and there's too many spot fires out there to contain. So we are exploring other options for containment lines, doing what was similar up here in Uniform to tie it into some terrain features and natural vegetation openings to complete a secondary control line out in this area. One great thing is now that we're playing offense, we're getting ahead of the game, and our structure protection group was able to get out, take a flight over these smaller communities around the periphery of the fire and also up in Red Feather and Crystal Lakes. They've got a good plan in place now, and they'll start moving resources as they complete work across the Highway 14 corridor up into some of these other areas, doing the same type of operation with structure improvement and coming up with a good game plan for the long term. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Michael Hayden, Incident Commander, Cameron Peak. Today I want to take an opportunity to talk briefly about what supports all those efforts you just heard operations talk about. That's usually called a fire camp or an ICP, Incident Command Post. What happens at the Incident Command Post a lot of times isn't exciting. It's all the work behind the scenes that keeps all those firefighters out there on the ground working. It's all the things that, let's face it, they're not glamorous, but we need to make sure the firefighters are fed, they have accurate weather so they can adjust their tactics accordingly. They are getting fuel, have somewhere to maybe take a shower every few days. And they're supported in all ways that these large fires require. And that's what's happening right now. So the fire out on the hill is self-sustaining. We have people out there, they don't need to feel what's happening back here. Back here, we're getting an outpouring of support from the local community and national firefighting resources. So I wanted to take that quick opportunity to talk about a fire camp and all the things it brings to the table. It also does things like provide these updates right here. This requires a handful of people with a skill set that is honed over years of hard work. Now, back to today. People want to know, we're very clear from the comments and questions that come back to us, what people really want to know. They want to know specifics on the map. They want to know how it affects their homes, their favorite hiking trail, their lake, their recreational areas. We appreciate that and understand it. For very specific questions, we do ask you bring those directly into Facebook or to the other outlets where questions are asked, because that's how we can answer them in today's world. So the weather, let's face it, we really need these breaks in the weather. Today we had red flag warnings and we still had cloud cover. So a lot of conditions out there still allow burning, but we will take every ounce of moisture we can get at the same time. We look out, we see far less smoke. That's a good thing. That means less things are actively burning right now. But it takes a lot of moisture to really put fires like this out, and we didn't receive anywhere near those quantities for something like this event. So while today's a good thing, a little bit of moisture, we're hoping for a lot more in the future. The fire behavior you saw out there, it's still moving through some heavy fuels. But as we're starting to get prepared for fire that's a few days out, the fuels start to change. And that really gives us a great opportunity to go out there and hopefully stop it in its tracks. That is and will remain our goal, the whole full suppression tactics. Now, resources. On the news right now, there's a lot of stories out about firefighting in the West, firefighting in Florida, wherever it may be. Well, this time of year, there's a National Fire Center in Boise where all the federal agencies are represented, and they coordinate these efforts to a high degree. They also dovetail in all throughout the country with various states, counties, and local resources. A lot of work goes on behind the scenes to include law enforcement, emergency management, the Red Cross, and an outcry that I mentioned earlier of local support in all different forms. It's greatly appreciated and it's highly coordinated. So the system goes where we bring in as much as we can. We saw many comments asking, are you getting what you need? Is there enough stuff out there? Well, at any time, there's never enough firefighting resources if it's super active in a bunch of areas. The way the model is built, because fire is very expensive, is to have resources that can surge to certain areas. Right now is just the pinnacle of the surge. So they're very careful about how and when they share resources. We received a lot of resources over the last couple days, and we feel very fortunate because lots of great work is getting done right now. But we have to leave resources out on the landscapes because if initial attack is not successful on new fires, then we compound the problem. So when in a lot of areas, people ask, hey, I still see engines on my local forest. The home forest has to be protected for everyone's good. So I wanted to just briefly explain some of how resources work. In this area, fire's no stranger. There have been big fires here in the past, and because of that, local communities have done exceptional community planning and disaster planning. We hope we never have to get to that point, but having that planning in place is a huge advantage for any community near fires. That includes the fuels work and the fuels reduction, the opening of the roads, the reverse 911, all that coordination that's taking place. Every little bit pays at a time like this. Lastly, I wanted to thank all of you for the support. The Rocky Mountain Blue Team was ordered here by the United States Forest Service to do a specific mission, and other partners have climbed on board and been nothing but supportive. The Rocky Mountain Blue Team thanks you all.
Well, thanks again for joining us for our evening update. We'll be here again tomorrow night, same place, same time. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us at our information hotline. And that number is 970-541-1008. And we can also take questions through Facebook. Thank you.